So last class we continued to do trig. Okay. So today you're going to actually learn how to use your formulas, which again are on your formula sheet, to be able to solve for angles and sides given an actual triangle. Because do you guys agree that you already know how to solve for an angle? Right? So if you have the ratio, you already know how to solve and get the angle. You just second, sine, tan, or cosine the ratio, and it solves for theta for you. Okay, but you haven't had to do any questions from scratch yet, where it just says, here's a triangle, here's some information, solve for an angle or a side. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to split it up into two parts. So for the first kind of 40 minutes of class, we'll just do angles. And then the second 40 minutes of class, I'm going to show you guys how to do sides. Okay. So just a quick review again. If you have a triangle, notice how theta is on the bottom, because could theta be on the top? Yes, right? So you always have two angles, guys, inside the triangle, other than the right angle, like the right angle, okay? So that's the angle we can't go from, right? We know we can use these formulas if we have a right angle triangle. So if theta is on the bottom, right? So if theta is on the bottom here, just a quick review, let's label our triangle. So if theta is on the bottom, straight across is which side? Right, so straight across, this one would be the opposite. The one that never changes, guys, is the hypotenuse, right? So the hypotenuse is this one here, and the adjacent is the one next to the angle. That's not the hypotenuse, because there's always going to be two sides, guys. Anytime you have an angle, there's going to be two sides that enclose it. One's always going to be the hypotenuse. The other one's going to be the adjacent, okay? The opposite and adjacent side are the two that change depending on which angle you're going from. So you can't do these questions unless you look at the reference angle and then label the sides from the reference angle, okay? All these formulas are on your formula sheet. If you guys look at your formula sheet, do you guys actually see a triangle that's labeled on there for you already? Have anybody looked at their formula sheet? Yes, maybe so. So just to let you guys know, your formula sheet will help you if you're still not confident with this. It's actually on your formula sheet, a labeled one from theta. All right, which can help you. So for example, one, it says find the measure of the indicated angle in the following triangles, round to the nearest degree. So if you have this triangle here, okay, you have to figure out the formula that you're using. Okay, so last week, I gave you the formula so you knew which button to press on your calculator, but this is kind of the baby steps to where you're headed. So if I give you the triangle, does anybody know which formula they're going to use on this one? Any guesses? Sine, cosine, or tan? Ah, nice. You will use cosine. Reason being is the angle that you guys are going to try to find is your reference angle. So do you guys agree that this is the angle I want to find right here? Angle S? So that's how you label your triangle now. So from that angle, the 103.5 would be opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. Adjacent, so this would be adjacent. The 185.7 is opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. And straight across, the TU side would be my opposite. The thing is, guys, are we going to use the opposite? Because you're going to use if you're finding an angle, guys, you're going to use the two sides that have numbers on it. So you only can ever use two sides at a time. Even though I labeled all three sides, guys, you're always crossing one out. Do you guys agree that's the side I'm not using? So that's how you figure out which formula you're going to use, is label the two sides that have numbers on it, and then go to your formula sheet again. So adjacent and hypotenuse, I don't expect you guys to have these down pat yet. We've only spent a couple days, but have your formula sheet out, because on your formula sheet, you guys have this to look at. Right, and we also talked about SOHCAHTOA to remind you too, but again, all in your formula sheet. So those three formulas are staring at you all the time. Label your sides. So the two sides that you have are adjacent and a hypotenuse. So you look at your formula sheet. The formula that deals with adjacent and hypotenuse is, you betcha. Right, so cosine is the winner. So that's the formula you use. So you grab it. I'm going to rewrite it down here. Not that you have to rewrite the formula without the numbers, guys, but I'm going to continue to rewrite it so you guys can see the formula a lot. Now, all I do is replace the numbers, right? So the hypotenuse goes in for H. The adjacent goes in for A. Can I flip those around? Do they have to go in that order? Yes, you cannot put the hypotenuse on top and the adjacent on the bottom. That's a formula. So adjacent's always on top for cosine and hypotenuse is always on the bottom. Once you substitute those numbers in, guys, now it's like we did last week. You have the ratio, your calculator does everything else. Okay, so we have cosine theta. So those ones that weren't here, guys, theta just represents the angle. So cosine theta, because we do have three unknowns in this formula. Theta is an unknown, which is the angle. Adjacent is a side length, and hypotenuse is a side length. So three unknowns. We have two out of the three. So adjacent goes in. So 103.5. Hypotenuse goes in. 185.7. And then we talked about that you don't technically have to put the units in because will the units disappear? Because they divide out. So all we do now to solve for theta, does anybody remember what button we press on the calculator? We have to hit, right, second, inverse. So to get cosine off of theta, guys, it's inverse, right? So theta is going to equal second on your calculator. I'll show you where this is in a second. So those ones that weren't here, you should be able to see cos with a little -1 on your calculator where the cosine button is, but on the face of it. So just give me a second to finish writing this, and then I'll remind you guys where it is. So regular cosine, see how it says sine, cosine, tan, right, on your whatever fourth row. If you have a graphing calculator, if it's on your scientific one, you still find them. But these guys are regular ones. Those buttons we're going to use when we solve for side lengths in the second half of class. So if you guys look on the face of your calculator, you should see the sine -1, cos -1, tan -1. Those are inverses. So all you're going to do is hit second and get the cos -1. All of you should have that on your calculator. Doesn't matter which calculator you're using. And then just type in the ratio. So that fraction, just type it in properly. 103.5 divided by 185.7. So finding angles and right angles, triangles, guys, very quick and easy, right? As long as you can figure out which formula you're using. But you do, like I said, have the triangle on your formula sheet to help you with that at the beginning until you get really good at it. So then you just hit enter. So therefore it does say nearest degree. So theta would be 56 degrees. Right? So if you didn't get 56 degrees, guys, guess what that probably means? You definitely didn't do it right, but you're probably not in degree mode. Right? So if you for sure hit, the other thing that sometimes students do by accident, they do this. They use the wrong cos. So if you're finding angles, you can't use regular cos. Okay, that's what we're going to use to find side lengths. So if you did this, this is another, not very often do students do this, but it happens, right? They just do regular cos and type it in. And then they're like, what? My angle's 1 degree? That doesn't make sense, okay? So again, finding angles, it has to be the inverse button. So did everybody get 56 now? Right? So normally what happens is students aren't in the right mode is the problem, not using the wrong button. All right, so let's just do a couple more. So for this one, so here we're trying to find angle B. So I always highlight it, guys, because you can't start a question without thinking, what angle am I finding or what angle am I going from? Because labeling your sides of your triangle all depends about that. We're good. So then from angle B, the 31.5 is my opposite adjacent to hypotenuse. The 31.5 will be my opposite. My 34.8 will be my adjacent. And AB will be my hypotenuse. Can I ignore writing that one? Yes, I just keep writing it so you guys can see me writing all three. The side that doesn't have a number on it, we're not using. So then opposite and adjacent is which trig ratio? Tan, you betcha. So we're going to use tan. So tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. I keep rewriting the formula so you guys can see it. I don't need to see this on your quiz or your assignments. I do need to see this though, because I know that tan theta equals opposite over adjacent on your formula sheet. I do need to see this. I need to see you using the formula, putting your numbers into the formula. So that I need to see. Because do you guys agree that this is the work that's finding your angle? Yes. So you get marks for this. If you skip writing this, you lose marks if you only give me an answer. So that's your work. I'm okay with you not showing me this, right? Because theta, what am I actually typing into the calculator? Right? I'm typing this in. I don't need to see both. If you want to show both, that's fine. But one of these is enough work. Okay, so if you rather show me this as your work instead of tan theta equals 31.5 over 34.8 and just show me theta equals tan negative 1 and your ratio, either one of those or both, but like I said, minimum one of those steps and an answer gives you full marks. So I understand that your calculator is doing the work to solve for your angle, and it has to, guys. There's no algebraic way that I can do this without using the calculator. Right? So second tan 31.5 divided by 34.8, as long as you type it in right. Goodness gracious. Make sure that looks good now finally. So that to the nearest degree, it's a 0.1, so it stays as a 42. Right. Mode? So do you have a... Okay, so hit mode. And then go down. See where it says degree? Yep, no, degree. Go up. And hit enter on there. And now you're good. Yep. All right. So last little two here. So looking at C, you guys do the last two, but just looking at C, are we confident which one we're using? Which one are we going to be using for C? Oh, so we got a couple different answers. So for sure, the 0.63 is the which side? The hypotenuse, right? Because it's the opposite the right angle. So we're definitely using hypotenuse. So it's got to be either sine or cosine. And then, right, so we're going from E. You betcha. So it'll be straight across is opposite. And then straight across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. So yeah, if you guys are using sine, keep going. If not, look up, make sure you understand why we're using sine. And guys, we talked about this last class. Please make sure the graphing calculator forces a bracket, but those ones that weren't here last day, if you're just using a regular calculator, please always put your force a bracket. So actually type a bracket type in your ratio and then close your bracket. This isn't such a big deal right now, but the brackets matter as we continue through this chapter. So it's better just to get used to always putting the piece after the negative sign, negative cos, like the inverse sine, inverse cos, inverse tan in brackets. So did you guys get 46 when we round to the nearest degree? Because it's 45.5, so it's a 0.5, so it rounds up. Pardon? Right, and then the last one, guys, what trig ratio are you using? Perfect, good job. So finish that one. As you guys finish that, you're not going to do the assignment in your book yet. You're going to do this one when you're done that question, and then we will, like I said, in about 20, 30-ish minutes. So these only have angles on them, okay? It's just the assignment in your book you'll do after. It has it all mixed together, so I don't want you to do that yet. So just want you to focus on angles. So you'll hand this in to me after you're done. So what did you get for the last one, guys, for an angle? 28 degrees. 28? Yeah. No, not 28. Oh, I did. Would you, what? 20, 28, 28, 28? Okay. I'm going to quickly do it as well, but so you guys all used tan. Perfect. So